use your powers for evil.
Evil? Your evil is mine.
Hello, Whovians. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs. With me, as always, my partner in crime and my partner in time, Jesse Jackson.
Hey, Charles, how you doing?
It's a little crazy today, apparently.
It is crazy.
Everything's going crazy. System is having startup issues, and Skype is freezing up because Skype.
Yes.
And, I'm beginning to think this episode is cursed, so hopefully we can get through this one this time.
I am hoping so. This does not break the record, though. We have had to record 3 or 4 times in the past.
That's true.
So,
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah. So hopefully the rubber band doesn't break, and
absolutely.
hopefully we can get through this. So because we want to talk about the pilot today, in episode 78. The very first episode of Doctor Who Series 10, and written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Lawrence Gow. And I'm dying to know what you think of this, Jesse.
You know, it has been a long semester break as I try to make it university-ish, as we discussed, because of the kind of the setting of this episode.
Right.
Charles, I am biased. No. Like Linda said, well, of course you're going to love it. It stars Nathan Fillion. Of course you're going to like it. Of course it's a superhero movie. You're going to like it. And I am partial to Doctor Who, and it's new Doctor Who after a long wait.
Yes.
But I really like this one a lot. I think if you... and I guess part of it is I have the filter of love when I'm watching Doctor Who. I look for things that I'm going to love and enjoy, and I do not make a point of looking for things to dislike. I know that's how some people watch shows, but that isn't how I watch. But I love this one. I watched, BBC America had the Doctor Who takeover. I watched a lot of episodes, and then seeing the new one, there's so many good things to discuss. And we have a new companion, we have a new setting, we have return of a villain. It was just a great episode. Am I overselling it, Charles, or are you feeling me?
You may be overselling it a tad, but I get where you're coming from, because with the title alone, this should tell you that I think Stephen Moffat was trying to come in with a fresh jumping on point for Doctor Who fans, with the arrival of Pearl Mackie as Bill.
Yes.
And I think he did a pretty good job.
Okay.
Overall. I've watched this episode twice now, because last night I was out at the AMC Lenox Theater watching the pilot on the big screen. So I got to see Bill on the big screen. And, this was, of course, after they showed the first episode of Class for Tonight We Might Die.
Yes.
And then they showed a new documentary about how Pearl Mackie became the new companion on Doctor Who, which I thought was rather good. And then they show the pilot as the main event, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it the second time around just as much as I did the first time. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking about this with you.
You know, uh, Peter David's wife, Kathleen,
Yes.
tweeted that she thought both episodes worked better without commercial interruptions. Would you agree with that?
Doctor Who always works better without commercial interruptions, in my
Okay.
opinion. Which is why I tend to prefer, because I have the Blu-rays and DVDs,
Right.
watching them that way as opposed to BBC America. Although I will watch them on BBC America
Right.
because I do want to support Doctor Who on BBC America. But yeah, generally I prefer it because, for one thing, they tend to be uncut.
Yes.
BBC America likes to chop from time to time.
Yes, they do. Yeah. So yeah. Let's get
But
started because there is
yeah,
a
let's-
lot to discuss.
There is a lot to discuss. So yeah, and we're already running late because of the aforementioned
Yes.
higgledy-piggledy, a real
Yes.
mess. So one thing I want to talk about real quick, there's a couple of notable cast members I want to run past you.
Okay.
One of them I think you've probably seen before, and that is Jennifer Hennessy, who plays Moira, Bill's foster mom in this episode. She actually appeared in a David Tennant episode.
Okay.
I'm guessing you probably don't remember which one offhand. So,
I do not.
Okay, she actually appeared as Valerie Brannigan, the human wife of Brannigan the cat in Gridlock.
Okay.
So yeah, she was Valerie in that episode, and so it's kind of nice to see her appearing on Doctor Who again after all this time.
Yes.
It's been what? Let's see, Martha Jones. That would be 2000. So 10 years, I think, since
Yeah.
she's been on Doctor Who. And then the other actress, Stephanie Hyam, who played Heather, Bill's would-be love interest in this one, and also the alien.
Yeah.
She was actually recently in an episode of Sherlock. She was in the Abominable Bride.
Okay.
If you're a Sherlock fan,
I love that episode, and
she played Jane the maid.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's a nice little Easter egg if you're watching some Sherlock afterwards, and you can go,
Yes.
hey, she was on Doctor Who.
Okay, very nice.
So I just thought I'd bring that up.
I'm glad you did. There is there was not a lot of guest cast.
No, and I think that's just because mostly we want to get to know Bill, the new
Yes.
companion, and also kind of talk about or explore the Doctor in this new university setting, and also with Nardole and getting that little interaction with Matt Lucas's Nardole.
Yes.
So let's get into the topics now.
Okay.
First topic I have this week is time, see what's become of me, which is a line from Hazy Shade of Winter.
Yes.
If you're a Simon & Garfunkel or Bangles fan.
Yes.
I prefer the Bangles version, actually.
They do a very good version of that.
It's a great cover, in my opinion.
It is.
But
I agree.
Nothing against the Simon & Garfunkel version, but
No.
I think I prefer the Bangles version.
I totally agree.
And this, of course, is a reference to the 12th Doctor talking about time a lot in this episode, as we find out that the Doctor apparently has been spending the last half century teaching at a fictional university called St. Luke's University that is apparently in Bristol, over in England. And not quite sure how he came across this occupation, but I'd like to know what you thought of Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor taking on this new role, and what you thought about him in this episode.
I loved the way the episode started, where we're seeing this very traditional, university professor office looking, so very British, so very, Ivy League looking,
Right.
And
Very, very official, very stuffy.
Yes.
Sort of stuffy.
Right.
It's hard to be stuffy when you have sonic screwdrivers on the desk.
Yes. And um, and I thought that was a really interesting way to introduce us to Bill, and and the Doctor once again we're kind of doing a twist of you know, he's not traveling and he's not exploring space. He's kind of made himself a home,
Yeah, he's
and
kind of taking up residence.
yeah, and he's, I keep thinking of Matt Smith's Doctor during Vincent and the Doctor, when he says, "Is this how normal time usually goes? So slowly in the right order?" But the Doctor seems to be, and I guess we get the feeling he is not above taking the TARDIS out and doing, you know, um, skirmishes. But it appears he's pretty happy just sitting there teaching and teaching whatever he feels like it. So we
And
do,
apparently, and
yeah,
apparently, he's a very popular teacher.
yes, and
He's the kind of professor that everybody wants to get.
right. Whether it's poetry or physics, same thing, right? Uh,
Exactly.
and I thought that was a very interesting way to kind of show him and to show how he's continuing to get over um, his experiences with River and
Yeah.
everything that's happened with him as the 12th Doctor. Um,
Yeah, that was something that they made a definite point about addressing, because you see these very prominent photos on the doctor's desk. In addition to the sonic screwdrivers in a mug,
right.
um, you also had this big picture of River Song, and you had a big picture of the doctor's granddaughter, Susan.
Yes.
And I have to wonder if, given some things I want to talk about later and in our little series 10 discussion,
Yeah.
speculation, that I wonder if that's deliberate.
Well, and there's a scene as we do timey wimey, at the end when he talks to the pictures and says, "Shut up," quit
Yeah,
talking to me,
I think
and
it's almost like they're serving as his conscience.
yes, and he looks at the river photo, then he looks at the Susan photo, and then he looks at the TARDIS, and all of them quit talking to me. Um, and there's a lot of speculation about, is Susan still living? Now, luckily, the actress who played her is,
Right,
and
Carol Ann Ford,
yes,
yes.
and so it would,
Obviously, she's much older than she was in
yes,
1964 when
yes,
she left,
but
but
I thought it was very telling that those are the two photos on his desk.
right.
And we go back to, and I promise we will not stay long on this because I irritated you this on the Christmas special, but I keep thinking about when the Silence of the Library and River talks about to David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, my doctor, and she talks about how my doctor does this, and we've always pictured that as being Matt Smith, or at least I have, and
Right.
now that I wonder if it is actually the Peter Capaldi Doctor, because they're 24 years of adventures they spent together, which is a fascinating thought. And so you can tell that River has meant something to him. His granddaughter, his very first companion, meant something to him. And to see both of them on um, that alone gets this thing where I'm pretty happy with the episode. I mean, just seeing that office, the Shakespeare bust, which just came from an episode of last season where he talked about the bootstrap paradox, seeing
Right.
all the sonic screwdrivers in the way you would have ink pens in a cup, and the two pictures of that, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to wonder because when the Doctor was the 11th Doctor, you didn't get that kind of. You got some sentimentality toward River, but not to the point where, like, he has pictures of her. I mean, he knows that she died from his point of view.
Yes, and
And
there's that scene where he says, "I always see you. I just don't talk about it because it hurts too much," or something like that, right?
right, right. But
Um,
here,
yeah,
he's obviously feels compelled to have her as a reminder in his life. Like he wants to, with that picture, he wants to see her. I mean, just to kind of that constant presence in his life,
yes, and
even though she's obviously been dead from his point of view, quite a while.
yeah, but it feels recent to him because, because of the 24 years together, and now
Right,
then,
in the Husbands of River song,
yes,
yes.
and how we can complain all we want if you are a nitpicker about at times Stephen Moffat gets a little too happy with himself and can be a little too cute and a little too fairy tale-ish, but what a wonderful story he's taken River Song and made this elaborate quilt in the Doctor's mythos, and it's just been really nice. And partly because Alex Kingston is so amazing, I just think that's been a great addition to the mythos. And part of me, Charles, is going, why is he being a professor? Why is he not traveling? Why is he, making himself work as this, at this university? And the other half goes, it doesn't matter. Let it go, Jesse. You don't need to know the details. The bottom line is he was, and now then, based on the end of this episode, he's going to do this. He's going to go back exploring again with a new companion. How about you, Charles?
I
Do you have that itch to want to know why? And
Well,
can
I think that's part of the mystery that is being set up here. That there is a why, in my opinion. And I think with a topic we're going to talk about later, with this mysterious vault,
yes,
and that apparently, like, because this vault is located in the university, um, I think that this is why he's decided, okay, I need to babysit this vault. And
okay,
so while I'm here, I might as well make use of the location and indulge myself a little bit.
okay.
That's my theory.
You know what? I think
And
that's
and
a
and obviously with the TARDIS, if he gets that little wandering itch,
yeah.
to that he can go indulge himself and then pop right back.
That is a damn good theory and hot. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had not thought of that because I actually had a question mark about the whole mystery vault and what's going on. So I think that really adds some extra context to it. Um,
And we'll talk about that more
yeah,
in a minute.
and so
But
I just
but
want to say
so yeah.
before we move on to your next topic, which is funny title again.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
I love Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, and I know I could say that about every actor, but I just want to. One of the things that I believe is you have to enjoy the journey and you have to enjoy the moment. And at this moment, we have an amazing actor playing this amazing role, and I am just enjoying the heck out of seeing what he does with this role.
I think over time, um, Capaldi's run will be looked back at very fondly. I think early on, like in the during Series 8, Capaldi wasn't getting enough recognition because I think the scripts let him down. For the most part, there were a few exceptions, like Mummy on the Orient Express, my personal favorite episode of the season. But I think that looking back, when we start armchair quarterbacking Capaldi's run after he leaves, I think people will find more good than bad, and I think he will be looked at very favorably, particularly because his performances are always so good, so compelling, and he and Capaldi seems to have a lot of Tom Baker in him as far as just his expressions and his gestures, even though he may dress more like John Pertwee's doctor, excuse me. But I think it's that kind of nice hybrid between John Pertwee's and Tom Baker's doctor that, plus, Capaldi obviously giving his own traits that I think come through, and I think it's going to make him one of the more fondly remembered doctors.
I hope so. I know it certainly will with me.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. And this is actually one last thing I wanted to bring up with Capaldi, or with the 12th Doctor rather. It kind of segues into our next topic, and that is Kill Bill Volume 1. And this is where I want to talk about Bill and Heather. But first thing I want to talk about and ask you about is the 12th Doctor and Bill. What do you think about them as a Doctor companion duo?
I like them.
Do you think they have good chemistry? Do you think Bill is going to be a good, successful companion in your, at least based off of this first episode?
So far, I'm very happy with her. I thought that his comments to her that she smiled when she didn't understand something, and her stories about giving chips, and
Right.
the sadness of not knowing her mom, and I liked her a lot. I think
she's a very sympathetic character.
she is a very sympathetic character, and she's a very likable character. I thought that
She has some loneliness and some abandonment issues because of losing her mother. We don't know how her mother died and where her father is.
And she's got a little bit, her foster mother reminds me a little bit of, Rose's mom.
Jackie Tyler?
Yeah, just not the most likable person.
Right.
And
so far a bit abrasive.
Yes. And I realize, you got to get through a lot of stuff in one episode, but I liked, and I think sometimes social media and entertainment covering can do you a disservice. Her being a gay, and they made a big deal about it, and you had a nice blog about it, and we are totally supportive of it. In a lot of ways it just would have been nice for that not to even be mentioned, and then the story was her attraction to Heather, and that was pretty central to the plot of Heather and her's attraction to each other. I'm sure you may bring this up, but I've read several places that Heather was William Hartnell's wife's name.
Right.
And
So you essentially had, because William Hartnell was generally referred to as Bill.
Right.
Bill Hartnell.
Yes.
So you've got basically a nice little Bill and Heather Hartnell nod here.
Yes.
With Bill Potts and Heather.
Yeah, and I read someone saying, I don't know if Stephen Moffat meant that, or
I'm sure
just
he did.
or just when he came up with Bill, here's a nice, because there was debate on Bill could have been a tribute to William Hartnell, but I definitely think Heather is, once he got Bill and Heather, that was nice. I liked Bill a lot. I thought she seemed smart. She seems to not be as sassy as some. It's not specifically.
You mean not like an Amy Pond per se.
Right, where we're gonna be
or a River Song.
Yes, filled with one-liners.
Right.
While hers is just an honest, like, who doesn't love the fact that can I use the bathroom? You
Right.
know, and this looks like a really posh kitchen,
Yeah.
and you know, and this her asking really interesting questions. I liked her a lot. What did you think?
Yeah, she's definitely not as posh or as polished as Clara, for example.
Yes,
But that's okay. I mean, she
right.
doesn't have to be, and it actually makes her more original, I think.
Yes,
To have her, she's more, I think, in more like Rose Tyler.
yes,
She's a little lower class. I wouldn't quite say she's a chav like Rose was accused of being,
right.
but I would say that yeah, just maybe because she doesn't have the money to attend university, but she has the desire. And one of the
Yes,
things that I loved about the 12th Doctor becoming interested in Bill, and he hasn't traditionally become interested in a lot of people.
no,
He tends at times to be standoffish. So it's interesting that he takes an interest in Bill. And apparently, what initially captures his interest is that she crashes his lectures, but um, instead of like scrunching up a face at something he's talking about, she sits there and smiles with fascination. And apparently, that's what he found so appealing enough to want to get to know her better. And then
yeah.
go
I
ahead.
no, I totally agree, Charles. And you know, to go back to you don't see Bill saying "Run, you clever boy, run." You
Right.
know, I mean, and that's I think is a
Bill
nice.
Bill's not calling the shots.
No, I think this is a nice change of pace. I think I think we're going to find out that she's very smart, and I think she's going to hold her own. But you know, I think it was a nice twist to say, you know, Bill's like she wanted me to go with her and to travel and to see, and that's the doctor kind of rekindling that itch of his, and
Right.
her talking about that I think is a really nice, because you know the question you always ask, at least I do, is why does he bring a companion with him? You know,
Right.
why does he need someone? And you know, and there's a lot of different reasons. What's the point of me looking clever if no one's here to see it? Or I get lonely and I need to have someone to talk to. There's a
Or he
lot of reasons.
needs someone to keep him in check.
Right. But in this case it truly was, I think he respected her.
Hmm.
He felt empathy for her because he has that sense of loneliness. I
Right.
think her saying, "Don't wipe my mind. Can you understand what that means?" I think brings back to his mind being whopped about Claire and not remembering.
Clara, yeah.
Yeah, Clara. So,
And I think it also calls back to Donna
yes,
because with the 10th Doctor wiping Donna's mind,
yes,
I think probably maybe part of him felt guilty about that.
yes.
And so this time when he was given that choice, he chose differently.
Yeah, and I think I can bring some joy, and and we can have fun. And you know, we're going to talk about Nardole in a minute, but you know, I'm really impressed with that, the actor and what he's brought to this role, and how he is not just comedy relief, though he is very funny, and this sense of you brought me back because you know you needed me and everything. So I think
It's part of the mystery
it is
that's
part of the
that's
mystery.
being set up here.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we'll talk about him here shortly. Um,
So I
Listen,
in
the one thing I wanted to
yeah,
talk about with the Doctor and Bill, um, because of the Doctor's interest in her, and he actually starts caring about her. Um, she mentions that she doesn't have any pictures of her mom, and then all of a sudden, um, her foster mom, Moira, suddenly finds a shoebox full of pictures in the closet, back in the closet, and they just happen like to be of her mom, and she gets all these memories that she never would have otherwise, and then sees the doctor's face reflected in a mirror in one of them. And that's when she starts, becoming interested, or at least in the mystery of the doctor. But it's just, it kind of shows you how much the doctor actually cares about her, that he would go back and do this for her.
Yeah, because, she gives him a rug for Christmas.
Right.
And he's like, I don't have anything for you. And she says, that's okay. Then she gets just cash from her foster mom, which...
But he felt obligated to get her something.
Yes, he did. And to use that, also nice catch is the TARDIS underneath on top of the rug.
Right.
And her saying, I thought it said it needed a crane, which was just a really nice little moment. Yes, this is... You see the start of a relationship, and I was really happy about that. So I am bullish on Bill. I think this is off to a good start, and I'm looking forward to seeing her travels in the TARDIS.
Well, I kind of want with Heather. The doctor makes a comment at the end of the episode. Maybe one day we'll find her.
Yes.
So I have to wonder if maybe that's how Bill's story will end eventually, is that somehow she gets reunited with Heather.
Yeah,
could be.
Or
I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe it's just, it's just a nice sentiment at the time. But with Doctor Who knows? Who knows?
Yes. Who knows? Yes.
Who knows? Yes.
Very happy.
All right. So let's move on to the topic that we've been teasing for quite a while now. And I have to admit, I kind of like this title that I came up with here. Unharry Nardole and the Chamber of Secrets.
I love that so much. Yes.
So unharry because he has no hair. So
right.
He's unharry.
Yes.
Nardole and the Chamber of Secrets. Yes. And if I have to explain that reference to you, read a book.
Exactly.
Seriously, read a book.
I have no clue and no speculation on what's going on with that. I did love the fact that the doctor said, how did you set the door lock? And I set it for friend, and that's how we knew Bill could get in.
Right.
But
which goes to show you that I think that also showed the doctor that, hey, she's a friend, so that's how.
Yeah.
So she obviously doesn't have hostile intentions toward him.
Yeah. So
So maybe it's like almost like a psychic kind of lock.
Yes.
That can read, the person's temperament or mind or something.
I think so.
But yeah, so we find out in this episode to kind of set this topic up a little bit. The mystery vault.
Yes.
Is that from what we're able to gather in this episode, because we obviously don't have all the answers yet, is that there's some ornate, possibly Gallifreyan vault that, for whatever reason, the Doctor and Nardole are protecting, and they're very insistent that because they think that once Heather, the water puddle Heather shows up, that their first thing they're concerned about is that she's trying to get into the vault, and then it appears that, oh, guess what, this is just a coincidence. They think it's that she's intentionally trying to get in the vault, but Bill's just like, no, it's a coincidence. Obviously, it's a coincidence, which I thought was kind of funny. But the question is, what is in there that they're protecting? Why is it so important? And apparently, and Bill makes this point, is that if this is supposedly so important and secret, why have it in this public university place? That such a public place as a university. So either it has to do something with the location, or it's just one of those things that, well, okay, the Doctor thought he was being clever at the time when he wasn't. What do you think?
So I have no guesses.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that you will have one of your wild arse Charles theories that have a pretty good
Of course
success
I
rate.
do. Yeah.
I do know they're setting us up for something,
Yes.
and I do know there were secrets and discussions, and it was a nice little snippet before we moved on to the Heather and Bill, and the Water of Mars monster, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
I did think what at first when they were showing the trailers, it seemed pretty like I don't know if that was deliberately misdirecting on Moffat and company's part, but I thought that Heather was going to be a member of the Flood. Like I thought somehow the Flood had found its way to Earth, and I thought that would have been
yeah,
cool. But then you didn't see her with the cracked lips or
no,
mouth or
no,
anything. So obviously she turned out to be something else, even though she constantly drips water like the Flood.
yes,
So, but I think it's an understandable, you know, um,
yeah. I thought it looked
mistake,
like
but
the same villain,
yeah,
right?
or like maybe they were related somehow to the
Yes.
Flood.
So
But
what?
let's talk about Nardole for a minute.
Okay.
So obviously we don't know much about the mystery vault, but it does seem pretty important. And obviously with Moffat, he loves to play the long game. So it could pay off at the series, series 10 finale for all we know. Maybe the Christmas special is something I want to speculate on later. But but with Nardole, one of the first things we find out about Nardole in this episode, because when he's ushering Bill into the doctor's study, is that um, he loses a little bit of he loses a nut and bolt when he's waving his arm around. So we kind of get the impression that he has a mechanical body.
I thought that was a interesting tidbit,
Right?
and I meant to, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's on my list of questions to ask you, what you
Right.
thought that meant. So
And I think it has to do because obviously when in the Husbands of River song, Nardole lost his head as a result of King Hydroflax. He gets his head put into that giant robot body along with the other heads. And so at some point after that, the doctor, I'm guessing here, this is me speculating, but presumably the doctor went back, got Nardole for whatever reason, and then gave him some form of android body as a replacement for his regular body.
okay, that makes sense.
Now the
Yeah.
question, of course, is why,
Mm-hmm.
and why does Nardole keep going around calling the doctor Sir, which he didn't in the Husbands of River Song?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's almost like he's obligated. Maybe because he was given that android body, maybe he feels obligated. But it almost seems like he's in on this mission, but he almost feels like an assistant more than a companion.
Yeah, he really does feel like almost an Alfred character to Batman, right? That he
Right.
is, that he's this, manservant or, that's there helping him. And I think that has worked well. I believe, he's not totally subservient. He
Right.
will have some, like he had a nice moment um, when the things are going on and he said, the doctor tells him what to do and he says, "Can I argue?" "No." "Okay, then yes, I'm ready, but I'm not ready." That's some fun give and take there. So I think you're right. I think he is probably an android. Um,
Or at least his body is. I don't know about
yeah,
his head.
but why why do you believe the doctor has kind of created this so that did he need his help? Why do you think this is happening?
Well, I think obviously with this vault Again,
Yes.
this goes back to the vault speculating.
Right.
It's something he needed to felt the needs to he needs to protect.
Okay.
Something important. He didn't feel like he could do it alone for whatever reason. So the question I have that's kind of puzzling me is, out of all the people in the universe, why choose Nardole
Yes.
as the person to help him protect this?
Yeah.
Now, remember, Nardole had an association with River,
Yes.
so maybe there's something going on with his past with River.
Yeah. Could be.
That will come into play,
Right.
which is maybe why he went to Nardole out of everybody in the universe in time and space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to need more there to understand why specifically Nardole was important.
And your theory on what are they protecting in the vault?
Well,
or are you still?
I want to save that for when we talk about the series 10.
Okay. All right. So you do have a at least half-baked theory that you'll be able to share with us.
It's I'd say it's a quarter baked.
Okay, sounds good.
It's still cooking.
Okay.
To quote the 11th Doctor.
Very nice. Cool.
But it's getting there.
Okay, good.
But it's simmering.
Yeah.
So all right. So anything else about Nardole and the Mystery Vault?
No, I like I said, I loved the Doctor and his interactions. I thought Bill started off strong as a companion. It is great to have new Doctor Who, and I liked this episode. I think, a new episode, especially if you're trying to do a jump in point, right, can carry a lot of things, with a new companion and everything. And I thought this one did it pretty well.
Yeah, I think this is definitely Moffat's attempt at another jumping on point. Maybe because with some declining ratings over the past couple seasons, that maybe he thought, well, hey, we need to try to bring some viewers back, make the show more accessible. Maybe the BBC got on him to make the show more accessible, which is why that if you noticed, this episode, the pilot, and also the first episode of Class, they're offered free on iTunes.
Yes.
At the moment. So if you want to download them and keep them in your iTunes library, I would jump on that right away. But I think there's a definite point to try to reel in the new viewers, which is great. You should do that, especially in Moffat's era. Yeah, you definitely need to do that. So I think this is his first real attempt since probably the 11th Hour.
Right.
Where he's made that accessible.
Okay, good.
So and then I thought it was good. We had a monster. Maybe it's the monster as Heather the water puddle wasn't the most exciting, but there was a couple of scary moments, I thought, and a little creep factor, and it was a very simple story, which is rare for Moffat.
Right.
With a nice some great Easter eggs. And one of the Easter eggs we forgot to talk about was the Doctor, when he's trying to ditch Heather, or at least take care of the Heather the water puddle problem. He brings Bill to the Dalek Movellan War.
Yes.
And the Movellans, these are a race of androids that basically have hairstyles like Bo Derek in the movie 10, and very disco in appearance. They were actually first appeared, and this is really their only on-screen appearance, was in the 1979 episode or story Destiny of the Daleks, which was the first appearance of Lalla Ward as the second Romana.
Ah, okay.
And it was also our first appearance of Davros, I might add.
Ooh, okay.
So this is that's an episode I want to talk about at some point after we finish with Series 10. But yeah, it was a nicely. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the Movellans much, so that was kind of a disappointment. They're just nothing more than a cameo, so I thought they were kind of wasted. But at least we got to see them on screen again. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was basically a nice little Easter egg for old school fans like myself, I think.
Good.
All right. So anything else you want to talk about this
Nope.
episode?
Nope. I'm very happy and ready to move on.
Okay, let's move on then. So favorite quotes. I'm guessing you have some favorite quotes of this episode.
Yes, I do. Now, one of my favorite bits of all time is Steve Martin saying, "You can make $1 million and never pay taxes.
That's a great bit.
First, make $1 million. Second, don't pay taxes." And Nardole's explanation of how the TARDIS works reminded me of so much of that.
Right.
First, you have to imagine a very big box fitting inside a very small box. Bill, okay. Then you have to make one. It's the second part people normally get stuck on.
That's a great line.
Yes, it was.
I kind of like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So so the Doctor in this episode talks a lot about time.
Yes.
And without stealing one quote that we discussed before this podcast.
Yes, we did.
I'm not going to steal that quote.
Okay.
But I'm going to use a different quote here.
Good.
So Capaldi's lecturing, or I should say the 12th Doctor's lecturing, and he says, "Imagine if time happened all at once. Every moment of your life laid out around you like a city. Streets filled of buildings made of days. The day you were born, the day you die. The day you fall in love, the day that love ends. A whole city built from triumph and heartbreak and boredom and laughter and cutting your toenails. It's the best place you will ever be."
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I actually liked him. Almost all his discussions he did as, as the as the university and his things. I thought that was really well done. Yeah,
the Doctor lecturing would be definitely the type of professor I would want, because I was a huge physics geek in college, and physics was my jam. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Capaldi's Doctor would be right up my alley, obviously.
Yeah.
What's your next quote?
So, Bill going, "What good's getting in a box gonna do?" And the Doctor, "What an extraordinary long and involved answer this is gonna be."
There are a lot of great Bill and Doctor bantering. To paraphrase Nardole a little bit. So one of the Bill Doctor exchanges I liked was when the Doctor is, of course, running after that puddle because he's suddenly interested in that puddle, and Bill says, "Why do you run like that?" And the Doctor's like what? Like a penguin with its arse on fire.
Yes.
And then the Doctor responds, "Ergonomics."
Yeah. I love that quote. I thought that was amazing. Really funny. Another one, kind of toward the end is, Bill saying, "What changed your mind?" And the Doctor says, "Time." And Bill says, "Time?" Yes. And relative to dimension in space, it means what the hell. Right. I think that's why I think their personality and relationship is going to be really fun to watch.
I think so too.
Yeah. Good.
I've got another Bill and Doctor exchange. Okay. Bill asks, "But what about my friend? What about Heather? Can you save her?" And the Doctor responds, "First things first. Let's see if we can survive her."
Nice. Yes. Very nice. You got any others?
Yeah, I got one more. Do you have any more?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, my last one, I promise. The Doctor, when he's talking about hunger. "Hunger looks very much like evil from the other end of the cutlery. Do you think your bacon sandwich loves you back?"
I did love that quote. I thought that was really well done. Good job. Good.
Now I want bacon.
Yes, now we want a bacon, lettuce, and tomato. Sounds good. So,
all right, ratings.
Yes. I think I liked this one a little bit more than you did, but that is not surprising. I am going to give it 9 trips to the TARDIS toilet.
Oh, really? All
Yes.
right, 9 trips to the toilet. Yeah, you were just slightly ahead of me. I give this one 8.5, so I wasn't too
Okay,
far
no,
behind
no,
you.
you weren't. Okay.
I was in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I give it 8.5 out of 10 creepy puddles.
Nice. Good.
Yes.
I debated whether the TARDIS toilet or on a Chips reference, because they had all the pictures of them of her cooking the fries, and they look
Right.
good. I now want a bacon sandwich and chips.
Yeah, that would be that's actually yeah, that's actually sounds kind of good. Now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, me
All right,
too.
all right, all right.
All right.
So yeah, next we have a reverse the polarity segment. Not the
Yes.
reverse the polarity because
No.
that was going forward,
Mhm.
but this time we're gonna go backwards. I'm gonna reverse the polarity back to 2005, and I'm
Yes.
hoping you can guess where I'm going with this one. The episode I thought kind of, if you watched the pilot, I think you would enjoy Rose, quite
Yes.
obviously. The first episode of Series 1 in 2005. So, yeah, the very first episode of Doctor Who's return, written by Russell T Davies. And in 2005 London, um, Rose Tyler wakes up, to a digital alarm clock, which we kind of saw in this episode with Bill. And she goes to Hendrix, the department store where she works. And later that evening, Rose enters a storage room and is disturbed when she sees a group of moving window mannequins that soon surround her and raise their arms to kill her.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, this guy, man calling himself the Doctor, takes a hold of her hand and tells her to run. And later in the episode, after Rose has another encounter with the Doctor, Rose ends up going to contact a conspiracy theorist named Clive for information about him, and Clive shows her photographs. So we have photographs from various points in Earth's past that contain the Doctor. So Rose meets up with her boyfriend Mickey, who happens to have been replaced by an Auton duplicate.
Yes.
And the Doctor arrives just in time to save her, and the two escape outside where the Doctor's blue box is waiting. But with nowhere to go, kind of like, the Doctor's study in this episode, they basically they go inside the box. Rose follows him inside, and at the last second, and is stunned that the inside of the box is bigger than on the outside. So, well, hey, we got there,
Yes, we did.
to quote Nardole.
Yes.
The Doctor explains that his blue box is called the TARDIS, and both it and he are alien, which he also did in this episode, in the pilot. Rose is convinced that the Auton will follow them inside, but the Doctor reassures her by stating that the assembled hordes of Genghis Khan couldn't get through that door, and according to him, they've tried. So again, like with the 12th Doctor reassuring Bill that she was safe inside the TARDIS and nothing can get inside. So later, after the Doctor is captured by the Autons, Rose frees the Doctor and pushes the Autons, along with a vial of antiplastic, into a vat containing the Nestine consciousness. The vial leaks and the Nestine consciousness dies in pain. Arg. The transmitter controlling the Autons shuts down, and all the Autons return to lifeless mannequins once again. As Rose is about to return home, she hears a familiar wheezing noise and sees the TARDIS materialize. The Doctor emerges to tell Rose that the TARDIS can also travel in time. And without much thought and pretty much kicking Mickey to the curb, she kisses Mickey goodbye and runs straight into the TARDIS, ready to start her new life in time and space. The end.
Yeah, very.
Or the beginning, take your pick.
Absolutely. Such a. We rewatched it.
But yeah, I think this episode is just a lot like Rose.
I think it is. I think there's a lot of that, and that is, I think, the 11th Doctor, Rose, and this, are all kind of resetting the premise.
Well,
And
Rose obviously had the importance of,
yes,
introducing a whole new generation to Doctor Who.
yeah,
But this is not necessarily a bad thing that the pilot is like Rose,
no, in
in my
fact,
opinion.
no, and I think it's very telling that it is named the pilot. That
Yes.
I think that is not a bad thing, and I'm very happy. And but as
Almost
we
like it was a pilot for a brand new TV show,
absolutely,
because you get
absolutely,
everything you need to know in that episode.
absolutely, so good stuff.
Oh, thank you. So next time on Next Stop Everywhere, we're going to talk about Smile,
Yes,
and that is the second episode by writer Frank Cottrell Boyce, who wrote that rather god awful episode, in my opinion, In the Forest of the Night.
it
So hopefully this one will be better. I hate to think it would be worse.
that made on one of the clickbaits I ran into, they
Yeah.
had the 10 worst modern episodes of Doctor Who, and that made one of them. That was on the list. So
No offense to anyone who liked In the Forest of the
absolutely,
Night. If you did, that's awesome, and I
absolutely,
wish I were you,
yes,
because I would like to like that episode, but unfortunately, I'm not a fan of it.
absolutely. I tend to stay spoiler free, so I know nothing about it. I'm just excited to
Yeah,
go on another trip in the TARDIS.
yeah, all I know is that apparently we go to some future alien location or whatever, and there are emoji bots.
Good.
So that's all I know too. And
So we're kind of going long. So I think let's hold our discussion on class. What do you think?
yeah, that's fine. We can do
Okay.
that. Yeah, for the sake of time, because I
Yeah.
know we are kind of running on and we're a
But
little late.
but I do want to.
Oh,
Um,
do you think there's enough to talk about in a separate episode?
um,
I'm just asking your opinion on this.
I think it would be a 10 or 15-minute episode, and that's
Okay.
okay because we'll just, we'll do that. I
Or
think
do you
that's
want to just save a few of these up and talk about it
I
that
think that's
way?
even better. I think that's a good idea. Um, really quickly,
Yes.
here's my problem with class
Okay.
is I I think people get stuck on out of sequence storytelling,
Right.
and it just is not necessarily clever sometimes or needed.
I think it's played out.
Yes, I do too. And I think that's what bothered me about this is the whole, if they had tried to be more linear, and that's nice for me to say as I talk about a time travel show, but
Exactly.
it was overly difficult. And I
Did,
think I just that's what bothered me. Is I wasn't sure who they were, and then all this back and forth. And if they had just been a little more linear and a little more, here are the people, here's what's going on,
right.
here's the church, here's the steeple, look at all the
L-
people, or just
little more user friendly.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't.
Now, do you see why the connection? When I mentioned this, that because I had seen the episode before,
Yeah.
that the connection to Doctor Who is very tenuous, and
Yes.
Capaldi only shows up as the 12th Doctor for maybe all of 5 minutes
Yeah,
in
and
the episode.
I did love the fact that and whoever wrote the series was aware enough that they had the characters say, like a Hellmouth or a,
Right.
and they named a couple of cliches.
Like a vampire.
Yeah, like
on
Vampire
Diaries
Diaries,
and
and
stuff. Other
like,
things.
um, the wall of, the wall of weird, the kryptonite
Yeah.
charged in Smallville, and and so I like the fact that they brought up and said, yes, we know we're just taking a very common trope and using that's what we're going to get there. Some of the characters were good, some of them weren't. I think I will stick with it at least a couple more episodes, and then but I do think it's a good plan to maybe we kind of talk 2 or 3 in a row, and kind of maybe a third of the way through or fourth of the way through we go, okay, let's check on class, and we'll kind of do a segment on, is it getting any better, is it worse, is it Buffy light, what is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, our focus is going to be on Doctor Who at the moment.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we're not going to ignore class. We're just
Yeah.
we're just going to focus our main efforts on Doctor Who, because obviously we have this new season to talk about.
Yeah, and then
It would have been nice if class had been on at a time when there wasn't new Doctor Who.
yes.
Because BBC America has had this for sitting in their closet for like a year now. So we had all that time. We could have watched class and then watched,
Yes.
and talked about it and then watched Doctor Who, but no.
And I think a better connection to the Doctor Who universe,
A
either
stronger
through,
connection.
yeah, through either a former companion or someone from Torchwood or Unit, or
Yes.
something.
Well, they have the Coal Hill Academy,
Yeah, but that's
which is obviously where Susan and Clara.
Yes.
But yeah.
I'm just, and
It's
I'm
not
not saying
enough.
Osgood needed to be in there, but or someone, or or Kate's, kids. But if there had been some little more connection, I think it would have been.
From what I understand, there is a Doctor Who monster that appears later in the season.
But you need.
But I won't spoil that here.
Yeah,
yet.
it. Sarah Jane Adventures, you had the connection.
Yes.
Torchwood had the, Captain Jack connection. There is, we just don't have that connecting us to the, I guess, if Danny had not died and him being, a teacher there, or
Right.
something.
We could have continued with Danny on
Yes.
class.
Yes.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a spin-off, a
Yes.
proper spin-off.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So with that in mind, before we keep ranting about class.
Yes. Even though we weren't
we
going to talk about it.
were going to talk about it, but we're going to rant about it for 5 minutes. Just saying.
That's what we are.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. So next time we're going to talk about Smile.
Okay, so Series 10 rumors.
Yeah, real quick. Series 10 rumors. Most of you have probably seen the rumors that supposedly Peter Capaldi's replacement as the Doctor, as the new 13th Doctor, has been cast. And nothing official has been confirmed. The BBC certainly hasn't officially confirmed anything. A lot of these reports are coming from British tabloid newspapers.
Yes.
And with the same kind of, and I want to point this out, with the same kind of attitude that, oh, this is absolutely going to happen, that they gave Patterson Joseph, an actor that was supposedly a deadlock for the 11th Doctor, until all of a sudden it turned out that, oh, guess what? Matt Smith is the 11th Doctor. Surprise.
Yeah.
So maybe this actor, so the actor they're talking about, that has been cast, as an actor by the name of Chris Marshall. And I'm not quite familiar with him. I know he's been on some obviously some British series, and I think he was in Love Actually.
Is he the goofy guy that goes to Minnesota and goes to a bar?
I've never seen Love Actually.
Oh, wow.
But I gather yes.
Okay.
So
kind of, if that's true, they're going younger.
Yeah,
a little
more younger, obviously younger than Capaldi, but he's still in his 40s.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the baby-faced David Tennant, Matt Smith,
right?
At the time.
Uh-huh.
So, but we'll see. So maybe it's Chris Marshall. Personally, I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, I think the BBC would have been like, okay, once the news started breaking, they're going to be like wanting to hurry that announcement out, and that way they can spin it their way, as opposed to the tabloids spinning it their way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you what do you think of the rumor that the First Doctor is
Yes.
going to attend?
Yeah, let me talk about this.
Okay,
So,
good.
there's a new rumor out. I was hoping to post it on Damn Good Coffee today, but got a little sidetracked because the first trailer to Krypton leaked online, and I had to talk about that because I'm a big Superman geek.
Yes, that looks good, by
So,
the way.
it does look good. Very almost kind of like a Battlestar Galactica kind of
Yes.
thing, or only or Caprica, but only good.
Right.
So we'll see. But yeah, so there's a rumor that David Bradley, who obviously played the first Doctor, well, he played William Hartnell and also the first Doctor in the great movie by Mark Gatiss, An Adventure in Time and Space, part of the Doctor Who's 50th anniversary celebration, is apparently going, at least this is the rumor that's coming again from British tabloids, so take it for
Yeah.
what you will here. Please keep that in mind. I know that some news sites like Newsarama want to report it as absolute fact, but it's not.
Yeah.
Sorry, Newsarama. But apparently they're talking about that he might appear with Peter Capaldi in the Christmas special, because obviously, if Bill doesn't appear in the Christmas special, maybe her character is written out in the series 10 finale. Or maybe that they decided just to make this even more special by adding David Bradley, because apparently, with Christmas special they want to have like a big celebrity guest star,
Yeah.
like Nick Frost or what have you, or Michael Gambon. So that the reason that they want to do this is supposedly that maybe this might tie in with the Time War, and we might get the story, supposedly, this is the rumors here, that we would get the connection finally of why the 12th Doctor was in the Day of the Doctor.
Yes.
And when then you saw was Capaldi's eyebrows and go, ooh, eyebrows, and no sir, all 13. But so apparently this would be from the 12th Doctor's point of view. So we would find out how he got involved in those events, why he's involved in those events, and maybe he has the first Doctor helping him.
Yes.
So we'll see. It's an interesting rumor, and I kind of like this rumor.
Yes.
And the reason I like it so much is because of what we saw in the pilot with the vault.
Yes.
And if it is Gallifreyan vault, and it does have something to do with Gallifrey, maybe that's when we get the payoff, is the Christmas special, Capaldi's final episode.
And yes, I've read that too, and that would be very cool.
So this is where I'm thinking that this whole thing connects.
Okay.
So I think that maybe Moffat is setting up Capaldi's final episode. And I might also want to point out, while I'm thinking about it, because I talked about Susan. Now, Susan has Peter Capaldi has made various statements over the past few years since he became the Doctor that he would love to have his doctor meet Susan.
Yes.
If you remember those, reading those articles or whatnot.
Right.
So, and with seeing Susan's photograph in the pilot, and with this whole business with the Time War, I have to wonder do we get the return of Susan in the Christmas special as well? Because if we do have the first Doctor, it kind of makes sense that Susan would be there.
Yes, it does.
So.
Yeah, I would love that.
Now, is it a young Susan or is it an older Susan where they go back to Susan, who's now much older, on in the year 2150 that we last saw her in the Dalek invasion of Earth there, or who knows? Although we did also see Susan in the Five Doctors in 1983.
Yeah.
But just there's a lot of pieces that seem like they could fit together here.
Yes.
So what do you think?
I I would be happy with Susan either way. I would love to have the actual actress return and
Carol Ann
see,
Ford,
yeah,
yes.
and see old Susan, just because,
Maybe she would regenerate.
yeah. Um, I just, I would love to see. I'd like to see any of the old companions come back. I just, as we've taken our journey through classic Who, I now have an affection for a lot of those actors and their roles, and so I would love to see that. I think it's a great idea. I think it is, I think Capaldi has had a wish list of things he wanted to do. We now are getting the two masters, which we talked about last time,
Right.
which is very cool.
This is shaping up to be a rather big season of Doctor Who.
Yes, it is, and you actually think that makes sense because,
Well, you want to end up. Moffat probably wants to end his run on a high note,
right?
and Capaldi probably wants to end his run on a high note. So
Yeah, and I think it's the right thing to do. Let's just go
and-
out all the way and leave it there.
it makes sense to swing for the fences.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Good.
All right. So, all right. Anything else you want to talk about? Because I want to give our contact information real quick.
No, I do not have anything else to add except we are missing your voice. And so we would love to hear what you thought about the pilot, and how they can tell us is, Charles.
Obviously, you can reach us by email for those of you that still use email in this day and age. Next Stop Everywhere at gmail.com, or you could reach us on Facebook at Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, or you can reach us on Twitter, which a lot of people do, on Next Stop SMG on Twitter. So please like and or follow us on both of those. And also, if you would, give us a rating on iTunes. That would be great, because we haven't had one of those in a Time Lord's age.
Yes.
And it would be nice to get one again.
Yes.
But Jesse, where can they reach you?
Well, they can reach me on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can leave a voicemail on my Skype account, which is 214-736-3121. You can dial that from any phone, mostly here in the U.S., and leave a voicemail, and we could actually use that in the show. You can hear me on Set Lusting Bruce, the podcast all about Bruce Springsteen and his music, my other obsession, and trying to figure out if I can talk the Americans on this fine network.
Ooh.
Now that I'm back and feeling pretty well. Allie and I are trying to figure out how we can get caught up on that and do Comrades, our American podcast. And Charles, you have a big podcast anniversary coming up, don't you?
Yes, we do. So the Phantom Zone podcast, which I do with friend of the show, Karen Lindsay, is about to hit episode 100. And we've been kind enough to, or at least Jesse has been kind enough to talk about or be willing to join us for episode 100, I understand.
Yes.
So if you're a fan of Jesse as I am, please join us on episode 100, where I think we're going to talk about the made-for-TV animated movie Justice League Dark, which features the return of Matt Ryan as John Constantine.
Nice.
Along with Zatanna and Swamp Thing and the Demon and all kinds of stuff. So I think that would be a lot of fun to talk about. We're basically taking a very quick break from our usual weekly reviews, because we want to talk about something a little special for episode 100, and we want somebody special like Jesse to join us.
Ah, well,
So-
I'm looking forward to doing that. That will be fun. And if you're a fan of Karen's,
Yes.
as we do more plugging,
Yeah, so obviously you can reach us, the
Yeah.
Phantom Zone podcast.
Yeah.
That would be great. Or you could check out my other podcast, Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse. But we're huge Twin Peaks fans. Twin Peaks coming back next month on Showtime, so now would be a great time to jump on board with us as we get ready to talk about the show. Our fourth episode, just posted today, and that is where we cover the pilot episode from the original 1990 to 91 television series of Twin Peaks. It's called Northwest Passage, and hope you guys check it out. And hope you dig it enough to keep on coming back and listening to Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
And otherwise, you can reach me at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine, at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram, Facebook, of course, Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. And a shout out to Karen. And
Yes.
my blog, Geeky Things, Damn Good Coffee and Hot.
Because Charles searches.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Charles searches the news wires to find all things that good geeks need to know, and repurposes it and shares it on his blog. So it's your one-stop shop.
Yep, like your aforementioned Krypton trailer, which
Yes.
jumped on pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
But so yeah, and I talk about Doctor Who, Next Stop Everywhere, all the kinds of comic books, sci-fi goodness, and as we know, the Doctor likes sci-fi apparently.
Yes, he does.
So
Lizard in Your Brain on Netflix. Yes. That's awesome.
So if you're a Doctor Who fan, you like sci-fi, of course.
Yes.
So that'd be great if you check that out. I would definitely appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for supporting my little blog,
Yes.
which hit 30,000 page views in the month of March.
Wow.
So cheers to everybody for checking out my little blog and sharing it. And please tell your friends about it. That'd be great.
That is awesome. Well,
All right.
Charles, we got one in the books.
Yep. So we got 1 down, 11 to go. Well, plus a Christmas special.
Yeah. So I'm ready.
So,
I'm excited.
But yeah, I am too. And so far, I think we're off to a solid start.
I believe so.
And I'm looking forward to learning more about the Mystery Vault and the mystery of Nardole and what's up. And then maybe we're gonna see some really cool stuff in that Christmas special.
Absolutely, and we get to know Bill a little bit more. So
Yes.
we're going to close, as you heard Charles mention. We saved a quote from this episode because he and I both thought it was a great quote to end this episode with, and it is, "Time is a structure relative to ourselves. Time is the space made by our lives where we stand together forever. Time and relative dimension in space, it means life."
Nice.
Nice. Thank you, guys. Talk to you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Come back for Smile next time on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast.